Imagine being asked three questions all at once. Would you be my housekeeper? Would you be my companion? Or would you marry me? That's exactly what happened to today's guest, and her answer changed her life in so many ways and brought her into one of the most extraordinary families, actually, in history. But here's the twist. While the world knows her as Paul McCartney's stepmom, we know her as so much more. She's a wartime Liverpool survivor, a young widow who started all over, a mother and a stepmother who blended families with grace and so much bravery, and a woman who went on to become an author, an entrepreneur, a tea connoisseur, and even earned her doctorate degree in her 80s. Joining Dr. Angie McCartney today is her amazing daughter, Ruth, because this is also a story about the beautiful bond between a mother and a daughter who've become business partners, best friends, and proof that the powerful legacy we can leave is showing others how to fearlessly live and with kindness. These two exemplify terminal optimism. Angie and Ruth run an organic tea company. They have co authored multiple books, amazing books, and they have more energy than people half their age. But more than that, they both have stories. Oh, the stories they have about resilience, reinvention over and over again, and the magic that happens when you refuse to let your dreams have an expiration date. So pour yourself a cup of something warm, preferably a cup of Mrs. McCartney's tea. Get comfortable and be prepared to be inspired by two women who embody everything we believe here, that life isn't about the number of years you've lived, but about the life you've packed into the years that you are on this earth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the unstoppable, the unforgettable, the absolutely ageless Dr. Angie McCartney and her wonderful daughter, Ruth. They are witty, they are wise. They both have stories to tell that will make you laugh, make you cry, bring a tear to your eye, and definitely surprise you. Today on Always Ageless, we're not just here to talk about Beatles history. We're talking about their story, the remarkable journey of Dr. Angie McCartney and her daughter Ruth. Stay with us. This is a conversation you will remember. Dr. Angie McCartney and Ruth McCartney, welcome to Always Ageless.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. Pleasure to be here.
Delighted.
We are so glad to have you and just want to ask you briefly, Angie, about your life before you met Jim McCartney, excuse me, and you were a child during the war. Do you remember being in actually where your home's bombed in Liverpool? What was that experience like?
Well, I was born in 1929, so I was
9 or 10.
9, yeah, when the war started. And I don't really remember it being troublesome. We just got on with it, which I guess is the Liverpool way of doing things. You just take life by the throat every day and get on with it. And a sense of humor is a great help.
But their neighbour's house, Dr. McAlpine, 5 houses down, that was bombed. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah, every morning when we'd get out of the air raid shelter, my sister Joan and I would go for a walk around the district to see which houses had been bombed and what was left. And Dr. McAlpine, about a mile away, that my father had worked for as a pharmacist, his house was no more. It was just a big crater, smoking still. Those kind of memories I still have. I occasionally have a nightmare and think about them. So it's buried somewhere in the back of my brain, what's left of it. But we got on with it, and we used to have sing songs and spelling bees and crossword puzzles and all kinds of things in the air raid shelter to keep us occupied. And we didn't really worry about the bombs too much. But
Except that you
1945,
had to be, except that they took you out of school because the school had to be used for
that's right.
other
The
people.
school had to be used for people whose homes had been bombed. So we used to just meet once a week for half a day in a neighbor's house with the teacher and just do roll call, say a prayer, just exchange stories about what was happening. And that was it.
See whose dad was growing tomatoes and see whose
yeah,
mum was growing cabbage.
yeah. Mm. You just,
Amazing
we
story.
took it in our stride, and we didn't think we were having a bad time because we always had a sing song every night and laughed a lot, and still doing it.
Same.
Same thing.
And grateful for the moments that you had your family together.
Mhm. Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely, yes.
How did your relationship with Jim begin?
He said, I want to ask you something. And I looked up and I said, the answer's yes. He said, I haven't asked you the bloody question yet. So we sat down again and he said, well, Paul has bought this lovely house for me, but I live here all alone. I've got arthritis starting, so I can't really get a car and learn to drive. I need somebody to take care of me. Would you be interested either in being my housekeeper or living with me or getting married even? And I thought for all of one split second and said, getting married? Because in those days, with a 4-year-old daughter, you didn't want to be living in sin, as it were, with an elderly man with all the good fortune that had just surrounded Jim. So that was it. We decided we'd work on it and get married. Shortly after, the phone rang and Jim answered. The phone was in the hall. We only had one phone in the house in those days. Can you imagine? And I heard him say, hello, son. Yes, she is. Yes, I have. Yes, we are. Ange, come and speak to Paul. Oh, boy. So I came across and spoke to Paul, and he said, hello, you sound nice. I mean, what a stupid thing to say.
Little did he know.
You've just found out it's going to be your stepmother, and she's got a 4-year-old in tow. So he said, so you're staying tonight? I said, yes. He said, well, I'll jump in the car. I'm in London now, so it'd probably take about 3 hours, which it did in those days when the motorways weren't
More
all
sometimes.
hooked up. Yeah. So it was after midnight before he actually arrived. And when he came in, I was in the kitchen washing up some cups and saucers from the many pots of tea we'd had. And he came in through the garage, and he was all dressed formally in a beige suit and a striped tie and brown lace-up shoes. Not looking anything like a Beatle, but more like a businessman. And he said, hello, I'm Paul. And I said, yeah, I think I know that. So we sat in the lounge and had another pot of tea. And he said, so where's the baby? Get the baby. So I brought her downstairs, plumped her on Paul's lap. And you take over from here, Ruth. Tell Val.
So I was obviously fast asleep in the dark and in what was to become my room eventually. And Ange comes and scoops me up in my little pink and white polka dot pajamas and brings me down and, daylight, electric light. And I'm like, where am I? I'm all confused. I'm 4.5 years old at this point. And I just had my kidney out in May of that year? May the 17th,
May the
64. And
17th.
this is sort of around November. So I've got a huge scar of like 210 stitches running from, all the way around my right-hand side. And they had been talking about it downstairs. And I was sat on Paul's lap and I looked up and I clocked his face and I thought, I know this bloke from somewhere. I've seen him somewhere. It was driving me mad. And of course, newspapers, television, the Beatles, it's the middle of 64 in Liverpool. And he said, I said, do you want to see my scar? Do you want to see my stitches? And so I pull up my pajamas and he said, oh boy, that's a big scar for a little girl. Ringo's got a scar on his tummy. He's had his appendix out and da-da-da. And as soon as he said Ringo, I went, oh, wait a second. I know who you are. You're on my cousin's wallpaper. My cousin Geraldine had Beatle wallpaper. She was mortified. She was
It was sure an icebreaker, that's for sure. We all roared laughing.
And everybody laughed. And I was like, I knew you from somewhere. You're on my cousin's wallpaper.
She's been breaking ice ever since.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by then you would have they would have been putting stuff on their wallpaper, right? By that time.
Oh, yes.
Sure,
yes.
Yeah, in England, absolutely. I mean, they had done Ed Sullivan in the first week of February of that year, and everything had just gone mad. So they'd done merchandise deals. They'd formed Seltape Limited. There were lunch boxes. There were Beatle boots. There were Beatle wigs. There were, you name it. And so my cousin Geraldine, who's 2 or 3 years older than me, had a little, they called him a Wendy house, a playhouse at the bottom of the garden that Uncle Peter built for her out of, scrap wood and leftover window frames and stuff. and she got our hands on a roll of, so I'm 4, she's 7, and she persuaded her older brother, my cousin Peter, to wallpaper the Wendy house with the Beatles. And of course, I recognized his face, and she was mortified. She's like, "Oh God, don't come off like a fan."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
As,
So tell me, did you fall in love with Jim McCartney? Did you have a wonderful relationship
uh,
together?
no, we just had a sort of kinship and both had a need for a better life. And
I
we just
did
had,
as a child. I
yeah,
just loved him.
yes, well, we just grew, closer and closer. And we really loved one another after a while and realized how much we had in common and how much each of us had sort of gone through in different ways. And we were really thankful to be together and, cared for and financially sound and warm and safe. And
Companionship, same
yeah,
sense of humor, same
yeah.
background, both piano players, both great
Oh,
musicians.
was that so he was a
Yes,
pianist
yes.
also?
Jim had a band in his younger days. It was called Jim Mack's Jazz Band. And I'll send you some information about it.
Yeah, it was a
And
huge band.
yeah,
They used to play all the big ballrooms in Liverpool. And there's a film, a graphic novel by a very famous English author whose name escapes me now, Raymond Jones, I think.
no.
And it's called Ethel and Ernest, and they made it into a film. And it's about a wartime couple. It's a sort of, a cartoon film. And they go out, they save up, and they go on a date to the Grafton Ballroom. And there's a little Easter egg in the movie, a nod to my dad, because they used his music, his one and only song, in the film. And as they're walking in, they're playing this song, Walking in the Park with Eloise. And there's a poster that the artist drew, tonight, one night only, Jim Mack's band. And it's like, he made it to Hollywood after all these years,
Yeah, I'll send you some information where you can look it all up. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. We would like
Yeah,
that. And Ruth, then he became your dad,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, he became my dad. He adopted me. We were flying somewhere. I think it was the south
the
of France,
Bahamas.
or the Bahamas. That's right. It was Angie and Jim's sort of official honeymoon in the end of January, 1965.
Yeah, Feb the 7th, actually.
Or was it February?
Yeah.
And I was going to celebrate my 5th birthday, and George Harrison was having a birthday 10 days
The
later.
Beatles were filming Help, weren't they?
And the Beatles were filming Help. And so the office in London arranged for us to go out. I think they probably got free rooms at the Balmoral Club. So, all we had to spring for was the tickets. And we were flying out, and they used to call passengers by name in those days. And so it was Mr. James and Mrs. Angela McCartney, and they called them forward to get their boarding passes. And of course, I was still Ruth Williams, way down the alphabet. So I'm standing there crying, and Angie's like, "I'm not getting on the plane and leaving
without
her."
her.
And so a light bulb went off in Dad's head, and he's like, "No, she has to have the same last name. As soon as we get home, I'm doing adoption papers. I'm going to legally adopt her." And so that's how I became from Ruth Williams to Ruth McCartney at the tender age of 5. Because, and if that had never happened, light bulb may never have gone on. But he was so patient with me. I was a little pain in the neck. I was, 4 or 5 years old, hopping up and down on one leg, saying, "I bet you can't do this." And he's like,
of course you know, but
"You're
you
right.
could."
You're right. I've got arthritis in every bone in my body. And yeah, I can't do that.
No, I think she introduced a new angle on life to him because he'd been a wonderful father to his boys
Of
after
course.
Mary died. He was both father and mother and housekeeper and friend to the boys. And it was lovely to have this carefree little thing skipping around the back garden. And he had a swing put in for her and a paddling pool and different things. And he reveled in it. He was really wonderful. He was strict with her too.
Oh, yeah.
Table manners. And
Please
thank
and
you
yous.
notes and,
P's and Q's.
Yes. So I think it was good to have that grounding when she was so young.
And how was it being co-parents, let's say, to the guys, to the Beatles? Because
well, I mean,
you both had completely different perspectives, right?
Absolutely, yes. Michael was still single at that stage, but he was in a group called The Scaffold, a satirical group, and they were touring the country, so he was away a lot of the time.
He lived at home with us.
Yeah, he lived at home with
But
us.
don't forget the age difference. So, I was 4 and Paul was 22. Mike would have been 20.
Yeah.
20 or 21. Yeah. So Ange wasn't really co-parenting them. They'd
Oh,
already
no,
grown
I was
up.
only 12 years older than Paul.
Yeah, so she's only 12.
Still am.
Still is 12 years older than Paul.
Yeah.
So there wasn't sort of a parenting relationship.
No. He lived in London by then because, of course, they were always traveling and doing radio shows and television shows and so on. So
he'd come up to Liverpool every other weekend or every third weekend when they were home.
When he could, yeah.
But you talk about, I see stories about that you would be in the kitchen and yet around the front gate of the house, everybody was there and everybody was hanging around.
We were always fans outside the gate, yes.
Was Jim more patient with that, or did it annoy him and
he was
you were able to handle it?
Very timid and very self-effacing. He was overwhelmed, absolutely, but he never wanted to be unkind, but he certainly didn't want to get surrounded. And he used to like to go for a walk down to the lower village and go and have a scotch in the little pub in the village. And then he found he was getting to be surrounded and more or less mobbed, so he had to give that up. But once he and I settled in and he got me driving lessons and bought me a car, I was able to take him out and we could just whip through the crowd and go off on our little way. Yeah.
I mean, I was going to school in Heswell at the Puttydale, I guess you would call it a K through
elementary school.
K through 12. No, elementary's older. Anyway, so I start there on, at 4 years old, you start school in England, 4 or 5. And the headmaster, God bless him, Mr. Kitching, thought he was doing a really good thing when the day before, I started one day after school went in. So the first day of school, he gathered all the students together and said, now there's this little girl coming in and she's called Ruth and she's just come into the McCartney family. And yes, she's related to a Beatle, but you're to leave her alone. Don't make any special fuss about her. So when you tell a bunch of 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, especially boys, don't bully this child, leave her alone. Don't steal her lunch. Don't steal her Wellington. I mean, one little boy actually went to the bathroom in my Wellington boots.
He peed in your Wellington set.
I mean, and because we all had uniforms, you had to have embroidered labels with your name in the back of your coat and shirt and jacket, and you'd stitch your name in. And so, I mean, we went through rolls and rolls and rolls of these embroidered labels, had to stitch them because kids would bring stickers.
Because they'd take them home for souvenirs?
Because it would say McCartney on it. I would have kids who would come and cut pieces of my hair.
Oh,
steal my lunch. 5, I mean, it was insane.
And pee in my wellies.
And pee in my wellies.
That wasn't very nice.
No, still don't own a pair of wellies to this day.
Just in case.
But that was enough, huh? That was enough.
It never rains in Southern California. So, hey.
You don't need them. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting.
We got out of that relationship and moved to London.
And that's when Tim Kendall's mother, Beryl Kendall, who was my niece by marriage.
After that, we moved to Sydney. That was when.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, that's when my cousin Tim's mother, Beryl, once our visas in Australia had run out, she said, "Well, I'm sort of on the way home to England. I'm in Laguna Niguel. Do you want to come and stay with me for as long as you can, and see what you like, see what you think about America, and try and get on your feet?" So
I was still here.
So we moved in with cousin Tim, cousin Debbie, and I think Lynn was still living at home then.
That's right. Yes.
And the late great Beryl Kendall. And I met my first wonderful husband, who are still dear friends to this day, and sort of whirlwind romance, a little like Angie and Jim. Got married, stayed, and the rest is history. I'm on husband number 3 now, but
And so your current husband is number 3.
Number 3. I think I'll keep him. He's a good one. Martin Nethercutt. Yeah.
It seems you get along pretty well.
Oh yeah, we all live together. Ange lives downstairs, and his recording studio is in here downstairs. His video editing suite is upstairs, and we have the master suite upstairs. And Ange's got her office and her bookshelves and her author stuff down here. And we all just get up every morning. He drinks coffee, we drink tea, and we roll our sleeves up and keep getting it done.
And how fun! So let's go to you. Let's talk about, now you're in Los Angeles, and you've become entrepreneurs, authors. Let's talk about, when did that start? What was the first thing?
I got
Angie, you were the doctor.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got secretarial work with a temp agency, and I met a few people from there, which, gradually turned into one job after another. I worked for Penthouse magazine, which was,
The Guccionis.
yeah, naughty, bit naughty.
She
But
wasn't like in it. She was
I
just.
wasn't in it. No, I used to just answer the phones, and oh boy, did we get some phone calls there.
We'd take turns on reception.
Yeah.
Penthouse Omni four-wheeler magazine. Can I help you? And of course, they were never calling with questions about Omni or four-wheeler.
Yeah. Yeah, you used to get the heavy breathers that would say, "What are you wearing?"
Oh boy. And I'd say, well, Wellington boots and a kilt. Oh dear. Yeah, we did our jobs, and then in 1994, the Northridge earthquake took the house we were renting in Woodland Hills. It split the foundation open. And Ange at that point was working for USA Today as a secretary. And Martin was freelancing his learned trade, apart from being an incredible musician and producer, was import-export forwarding agent. So he was working doing that. And we decided Nashville was hot. Nashville was Music City. I'm a lyricist. He's a songwriter and lyricist.
Mm-hmm.
Ange could transfer her job anywhere, so she moved from the USA Today to the Tennessean in Nashville. We packed what little we had left in a 1982 Honda Civic. I drove the 5-ton truck out there. Martin followed in the Honda Civic. Ange flew out there and started work. And we got a flat in Nashville and spent, I got 3.5 years there.
3 years, I think it was.
And during that time, in 1994, there was this thing called the internet. And I was writing songs with a very famous Australian legendary musician called Brian Cadd. And I went over to his house one day and he said, "Oh, mate," he said, "have you seen this thing called the internet? It's bloody amazing. It's like a library book. And you got to unplug the fax machine and plug the computer in to this thing called a modem. And you wait for the boomerang, ba-doing, ba-doing, ba-doing. And then once the boomerangs settle down, all these things will come up on your computer. And you can, if they're underlined and blue, you can click on them and you can go to another place in the world. It's like a big connected library book." So my brain is exploding like yours.
Sure.
Did.
Yeah. You're all over the place now, like that.
QR codes. So we finished writing a bunch of our songs for the day, and I stopped in at the Nashville Davidson County Library System on the way home. And there were only 14 books in the entire world written on HTML code, which is the base hypertext markup language, the code that runs the internet. So I ordered them. They had to be ordered in from DC and New York and San Francisco and San Jose and whatever. So I got these 14 books for 21 days from the library. We locked ourselves in, ate way too much Papa John's pizza, and my husband and I taught ourselves code and opened McCartney Multimedia and the business. And I went up and down Music Row, knocking on publishers' doors and theaters and artist management saying, "You need a website, and here's why." "Why do I need a website? What's a website?" I'm like, "No, it's a website with a T." Well, why would I need one? And so we built them for, oh my gosh, Clint Black, Leanne Rimes, and that's how we started the business. I just went knocking on doors in Nashville, and we were the only people in town who knew
David
HTML
Cassidy
code.
was an early starter,
I called an old
yeah.
buddy, David Cassidy, and I said, "I've bought you this thing called a .com. You are now officially davidcassidy.com. Every time you get on stage, put that on the drum head and say your name. You've changed your name to davidcassidy.com." And sure enough, we built up a huge following there. But in those days, you couldn't collect date, name, address, city, state, zip. You couldn't put anything into the internet. It was a one-way display window. Right. And so we jacked away to make FileMaker Pro work with HTML. And we were among the first people to start collecting fan data, which turned into ifans.com, which we then sold to Constant Contact. And it's all about permission-based marketing. I still say to people today, they're like, "Well, why do I need a web page or a .com?" Or I said, and they say, "I've got 15,000 likes on Facebook." And I say, "Yeah, who are they? What's their middle initial? Where do they live? How do you get in touch with them? What's their zip code? What are they allergic to? What music do they listen to? What sports team do they follow? Mark Zuckerberg knows. Do you know?" And they're like, right. Light bulb goes on. "Oh, I need my own guest book. I need my," yeah, you do. Because without permission, and winding back to John Lennon, he used to call the fans the customers. He'd come and visit occasionally for the weekend. And we had all the fan mail for Paul that we used to help Frida Kelly, who ran the fan club with Brian Epstein, for Brian Epstein. we used to get all the Paul fan mail, and Ange would sort it, and I would help with pocket money to earn pocket money. And John would go sit on the floor underneath the dining table and say, all these big bankers boxes. And he'd say, oh, look at all these lovely customers. These are all in Japan and these are all in Australia, because Ange would sort them, being the consummate secretary. And so I was about 8, and I said, why do you call them customers, Uncle John? He said, well, because they're spending money. And if there was only a way where we could poll them and ask them, what song should we do next as a single? Where should we go next for a concert? Which countries would like to see us? He basically invented the internet underneath our dining table, but
in his mind,
it would be 40 years before the technology was there to support it.
Yes, interesting. So you came up with this idea, and how long then did you stay in Nashville?
We were there about 3.5 years, and Martin started getting a lot of jingles and voiceover work. He's born and bred in Germany, so he's completely bilingual. His native language is German. And so he was flying back and forth to LA a lot. And he's like, oh, dude, I love this place. And I'm like, all right, well, we can give it another crack. We can turn around and go back. Because he had lived, we were living together in the valley, in Woodland Hills when the earth cracked. And so he's like, I miss LA. I want to go back. And so we did. We came to where we are now in Playa del Rey, which is near LAX.
Yes.
And we'd started the business. So we were incorporated, and we just kept going. And so another happenstance happened where I got my hands on a whole bunch of domain names, including McCartney.com, FleetwoodMac.com, Madonna.com, ThePope.com. You name it. And that's a story for another day. But I then had all of these .coms. I'd paid $50 each for them. And I went around Hollywood giving them away on the proviso that if I gave you your .com, and it's still only 1997, April by this point, if I give you your .com free and clear, you agree to use our firm to build your website, run your fan club, help with your merchandising, and so on and so forth. So that's how we got a ton of those celebrity clients, is because we turned them on to being the owners of their own .com.
And did they keep their word?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of them have faded away since the bands have broken up or whatever, but we still have the jazz great Steve Tyrell as the client after, 30 years. Edgar Winter, the rock and roll, edgarwinter.com, which we're in the middle of redoing again for the umpteenth time. He's been with us, I think, 31 years.
Yeah.
So we started doing this, Val, when Mark Zuckerberg was 9.
Think about that.
I know.
So, yeah.
Sobering thought.
We might know what we're doing by now.
You might know. Yep. Yeah. And actually, in all fairness, he's probably where he is because of some of the things that you brought to be, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but we are
nudge them along. Maybe
we manage social media for lots of client accounts to make sure they're on brand and on message, and we're about to meet and potentially partner with a reputation crisis management firm, because some of the people we represent will go do stupid stuff and hack their own passwords and take things and drink things in the middle of the night they shouldn't, and then get on Twitter. Whoops.
Or drive their cars.
So sometimes you need crisis management. And then on the other side, because
we know a few people who could handle crisis management in the world.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, not all.
Indeed.
We should get into politics, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
no, I don't
That's
think
another story.
I don't think so.
But in the meantime, I just, I'm 65 now and going to loud rock concerts. Been there, done that, enjoyed it. Just, the high heels and the late nights are not my thing anymore. And so my husband said about 5 years ago, Martin said, well, you love what you do and you love kind of managing people and their brand and their PR. What is it you're passionate about? I said, well, I'm a foodie. I've got the Food Network on, speed dial in the background. And so now we manage the PR, media, representation, in some cases social media, for a bunch of a Michelin star chef, a James Beard Best Chef Texas winner, Bib Gourmand, Cherokee, a Choctaw Native restaurant. A lot of them are in Houston. We've got a kid up in Dallas who's running a 5-star lobster mac and cheese truck. We're getting him TV appearances and all of that stuff. So chefs are just like rock stars. They don't play guitars, but they have frying pans. So it's really not that much of a difference when you're doing media for people. They're not singing, but they're producing food.
But I would guess that they probably don't even think about doing as much self-promotion as rock
Oh, they
stars.
do.
Do
They
they?
do.
They're beginning to more and
Well,
more.
you
Yeah.
have to if you want to get on the James Beard list, or
Yeah.
you want Michelin to come in
You
your
have to
restaurant and
aim
have a look.
towards awards, don't you? Yeah.
Your restaurant and your chef has to rise above the noise in any given city, and Houston has 29,000 restaurants and
Um,
and
29,000.
six Michelin stars. So you have to do a lot of promotion, glad handing, goodwill, charity events, invitation dinners, entertaining, all of that behind the scenes stuff, which is what we handle for a lot of our culinary clients.
yes, and I'm sure they're so glad to have you as representing them.
Yeah, they're all great to work with, and they're so hardworking. But they have that same. A kitchen has the same camaraderie as a tour bus.
So it is a
It's
film crew.
as a
Yeah.
film. It's very similar.
Yeah.
They're all brothers and sisters at arms, and their goal is to have a perfect show or have a perfect service, and see the fans go home happy or the diners go home happy. It's really, the restaurant business done right is show business.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's really
At
true.
that level, unless you're slinging hash somewhere and making $5,000 a day and enjoying it, good on you. Some of my favorite food is the plain Jane meat and potato type stuff. But when you're trying to put on a Michelin type experience, it's front of house, it's back of house, it's down to, folding the napkins and polishing the glasses and just everything, the smile that greets you when you, step up to the front desk. So it's showbiz. It's what I grew up in. And it's really no different.
And unfortunately, diners are very fickle, right? One bad experience, that's it. They're not going to come back again.
Right. And in the music business, there really isn't a Yelp for bad concerts. People just go, I couldn't hear, or I had bad seats, or his voice was a little off, or she sang a little flat or whatever. But they'll share that amongst themselves. They'll whine on their own Facebook page. But the problem that restaurants have is Yelp and TripAdvisor and, Google My Business and all of that. Fortunately, we're partnered with a company out of Miami called Fave Me, which they manage expectations, and they manage ratings and stuff for restaurants, and they have relationships with these big companies that if somebody's being mean and unfair in an unjustified way, they can get those reviews, the bad reviews, taken down if it's patently obvious that it's a put up job. But you think about a chef or somebody running a restaurant, they have to deal with all of this stuff: the health department, the alcohol department, the slip and fall, the workers' comp, let alone buying and presenting the food and coming up with menus. It's a rough game, man.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Let's talk about your books.
Oh, yeah.
What
Okay.
was the first book and what inspired you?
Well, I think initially it must have been those letters from my brother with the red corrections when he used to say, could do better. I think then I probably had the idea at the back of my head I wanted to be a writer. And it didn't happen until
10 years ago now.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's 12 years, isn't it?
Oh, possibly. Yes, and this book is called Angie McCartney, My Long and Winding Road, the first 82.9 years.
Yeah, so I was 83 when it actually hit the bookshelves.
And she's nearly 96 now.
And I'm nearly 96, and I'm on my 9th book.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was mostly about my life and, the things we've talked about today. And then I moved on. And, of course, I found by being on the internet, I was in touch with a lot of people who are Beatle fans, and they used to write to me and ask me things. So that started me on the trend of writing things like Ticket to Ride, which is a description of a lot of the main places where the Beatles played and were known. Yeah,
I have that. I just bought the hard copy.
Yeah, I just mailed one yesterday, actually, too.
Yeah, its subtitle is A Day Tripper's Guide to Legendary Beatles Locations.
Yeah.
It covers Liverpool, London, Hamburg, New York, and LA, the must-see Beatles stops. It's published by Imagine and Wonder out in New York. And as you were saying, Val, each location has its own dedicated QR code, which is a landing page that my husband Martin built on McCartney.com, which is able, if people's opening hours change or the prices change or if somewhere shuts down, we keep those all updated. So it's a book that never goes out of date, because if you scan the QR code, it takes you to the internet, to the latest and greatest, whatever it is. So
It's
that's
brilliant. And is that the book that has the radio in Hamburg?
No, it's not. That is a book called There Are Faces I Remember, which is also published by Imagine and Wonder, and this is just the slipcover box, because it weighs 7.5 pounds. So
it is a beautiful book. It's beautiful.
These are paintings by an artist by the name of Shannon MacDonald, and it's absolutely unbelievable.
You'd think they were photographs, wouldn't you?
You would think they were photographs.
I would have.
But all of the photographs inside, I digitally painted. So I did the artwork inside, and Shannon did the cover. And there's a QR code in there to something called Liverpool Live Radio, which
It's amazing.
So every time you scan it, you just get live on air what's happening. So you can get the football results, the English weather, whatever music they're playing. It's for people to brush up on their Scouse accent before they go to Liverpool.
It was amazing. I opened it and I scanned on it, and it's just live radio. I was fascinated. But then Angie or Ruth, you told me about the story of that, and I forgot the name of the company. So I called my husband. I said, "Oh, you can now listen to live radio in Holland."
Yes, it's called https radio.garden. It's not .com, it's .garden. So radio.garden, and it's an app in the app and Samsung store, the Google Play Store, and you can also just dial it in your browser. And it's a combination project between Google Earth and the University of Hilversum in Holland, who were one of the very first long-range AM radio cities in the world.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Angie used to listen to Hilversum on AM radio back in the day in England in the 1930s. And so, they just give the radio station a line of code, and they implement it in their RSS feed, and you can listen to. It's funny, when you scroll across the globe, you see all of these clusters of dots all over Europe, and then you get further east, and the globe is North Korea, and there's like one dot in Pyongyang,
and it stops.
And the sound of things blowing up.
Pretty sad.
Yeah.
So then you're still writing, correct?
Oh, yeah.
You have a new book coming out. We want to hear about it.
Well, yes, I'm writing a book about.
Well, we have these two. This is with a little help from my scones, and this is my cookbook that I compiled from British disappearing 18th, 19th, and early 20th century British recipes. Again, all illustrated and researched by moi. And the book is in black and white to keep the cost reasonable. However, when you buy it, you scan the code and you get your full color iPad Kindle version, a digital version. And all of these pictures are then in color, including the yummy Christmas pudding.
Stop it.
So that's that one. And then we have another joint book called All You Need Is Tea. And that subtitle is Titans, Traditions, Tall Tales, Terroir, and Tantalizing Treats. And that is the complete history of tea from 320 BC all the way up until today, and the story of all the tea titans like Twinings and Barry's tea, and all of the history of all of India, and Rooibos from South Africa, and all of that stuff.
And then researching that one.
And then our latest book.
And those two are still coming out. Oh, you have another one. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're all on mrsmccartneysteas.com. And then this one that just came out literally last week is called Words of Wisdom, Twisted English and Linguistic Lunacy for Word Nerds. And it includes spoonerisms, eggcorns, wellerisms, oxymorons, malapropisms, Tom Swifties, pangrams, portmanteaus, idioms, contronyms, and antonyms. So it's a real nerd's guide to the English language. And inside it, it's also got like regional sayings from Liverpool, Manchester, rhyming slang, all of those things. Yeah. And it's sort of written in a very Monty Python-esque, tongue-in-cheek sort of a way. So it's a great insight into the English language, but with tongue-in-cheek. And of course, as ever, it has the QR codes that take you to our websites.
Of course, and then you have the limericks one also.
Oh yes,
that we are sold out of, unfortunately.
I must have bought your last copy.
Probably.
I think you possibly did.
Yeah.
But I have here the writer's copy, so it's got a big grey thing across it. but that's called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and Other Random Irish Haikus. And it is basically the story of Liverpool, the Fabs, all of the people from pop culture from the 60s, like Twiggy and Brian Epstein. And the whole book is written in limerick format. And again, I did all of these illustrations. That's the Hollywood Bowl. There's the Whiskey A Go-Go. I'm trying to get it in focus. My camera's not doing so well. And that is the Liverpool Limerick book. And then Angie's working on yet another one to be revealed soon.
To be revealed. Okay. Well, you can let us be the first ones when you're ready to reveal it.
Okay, I will
Absolutely.
let you know. That's a promise.
Now tell us about the teas. So what inspired you? I mean, I'm sure that you were inspired about teas because of your living in England, but
Yes.
what was it that you said, I need to sell tea?
Years ago, we had a party at the house here, and a lot of guests. I think it was,
Harry Dunn.
yeah, I know. It was
4th of July.
4th of July. That's what I was trying to think of. And when I turned to this gentleman, a friend of ours from Arizona,
Who doesn't drink?
He doesn't drink. I said, what would you like? Wine, beer, vodka? He said, no, I'd like a nice cup of tea. And I'm sure, as you're from Liverpool, you must know how to make tea properly. And just the light went on, we thought about it. And he said, why don't you start a tea company? So we started researching, but it was very difficult,
It
wasn't
took
it?
me about 2.5 years to find suppliers who
didn't use children and
no child labor and no chemicals and fair trade and paying fair wages and whatever. So our teas, we have 14 flavors, and they come from 23 countries, and they're blended up in Buffalo, New York. And then we had to go down there, well, do you want loose tea or tea bags? And tea bags are obviously more, appropriate. But there's round ones, there's square ones, there's tags, and there's staples, and then there's Soylon, and then there's tetrahydrons. People call them pyramids, but they're actually tetrahydron. And so, I had to research all the material. And of course, nothing matches. It's like hot dogs and buns. So you buy the labels, which come, the little tags on the end, they come in dozens, right? In 12s. Everything else is decimal, like the strings are in 1,000 strings per bag, but you get 12. And then the Soylon, which only is made in 2 companies in Japan, which is the nylon material that doesn't melt in boiling water for the pyramid tetrahydron tea bags, that comes in metric measurements. But the way that the bags are all cut and the machines that cut them here, they're all in feet and inches. So just getting tea in a bag is like,
all you want is a tea bag.
Oh my goodness.
And that's what you go through.
And so then you get the insurance company who says, well, are you going to heat seal the label to the string? Because if you use staples, you have to have a $10 million insurance in case the staple goes and somebody's got. Yeah, so let's start a tea company. Okay.
It's never easy.
But we did.
Yeah.
And it's our 20th anniversry.
Yeah.
This year.
So the next time your friend says you must have a cup of tea, you can say, you can't imagine.
You don't even know.
You don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Don't even know.
We do, this time of year, we do a lot of corporate gifting, because with the way the labels are printed, we can do them in small batches. Again, of course, we have a QR code on the back, but we just shipped a huge order for hosting.com. They're giving away 1,000 pouches of tea at an upcoming conference, and it says on the back, a gift from Mrs. McCartney's Teas. And from our profits, every year we give donations to the Linda McCartney Breast Cancer Research Unit in Liverpool, in England.
Yes, I see that. And I don't want to take a long time, but I just want to make a segue about, I'm touched by your involvement still with Linda McCartney's fundraising. And she must have been a special person to you.
Yeah, she was terrific.
She taught, if there was one thing she taught me, she'd say, if you're having a great day, go outside and look up to the sky and say thank you. If you're having a bad day, go outside and look up to the sky and realize how big the universe is and how small the person is who's trying to make your day bad.
Oh, what a great story.
Yeah, she said, even if it's raining once a day, take 5 minutes for yourself. Just go outside and breathe. She said, even if you're looking up into rain falling out of clouds, you're part of something bigger. You're here for a reason, and don't let anybody tell you you're not.
That's a beautiful story. And with all that you've been through with the Beatles and all of that, that you still or remember her
Oh,
in
absolutely.
some of your fundraising. It must have been a really special relationship.
She was amazing. I mean, when you think about she landed from New York again with a young daughter, aged 4. It was
Yeah,
like you know,
yeah,
uh, history repeating itself. Her daughter Heather C. Paul adopted her, so she became Heather McCartney, just like I had become Ruth McCartney.
yes,
And she joined. She learned to sing. She learned to play keyboards. She had more of Paul's babies. She started Linda McCartney's veg. She turned it, Meatless Mondays was her thing. She turned a lot of people vegetarian. She started the Linda McCartney frozen foods. She continued to be a photographer. She had exhibitions, and she was an incredible mother and wife and touring musician. Holy moly!
Yeah.
She doesn't get enough credit.
Oh no.
and I saw an interview with her, and she originally didn't even start out as a photographer. It was all kind of by accident how she came to
That's
be
right.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, she was had a roommate called Lillian Roxon who was working for Rolling Stone, and shoved a camera in her hand and said, "I need somebody to go and photograph the Rolling Stones tonight." And boom, there she was with a Pentax or a Nikon, I can't remember what
And a
her camera was,
backstage pass.
and a backstage pass. And she's like, "I better learn this fast."
Mm.
And there's so many times in life when we think of, and you've been through them as we all have, where you think, what if I hadn't been there at that exact
What
moment?
if? Yeah, what that
But if
phrase.
I hadn't been there, what if that day I was doing something else? What if I
Yep.
was somewhere else?
Right,
What would have happened?
right.
So that's a pretty amazing story.
Yeah. There's a
So,
very interesting book called What If.
mm-hmm.
Deals
Yes,
mainly with Beatle world and what if this hadn't happened? What if Paul and John had not met on the day that they
yes,
did? And it's
yes,
very interesting by
Mm-hmm.
David Bedford. And that's on
yes,
Amazon.com. There you are, David. I gave your book a plug.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And now let me ask you about the wine. So I can understand the tea. At what point did you start selling wine?
Well, that's in limbo at the moment. We're
Yeah.
trying to find a new distribution avenue. It's very difficult. Again, you think tea is difficult, wine and alcohol across state lines, and every administration has their own new rules depending upon whether that administration imbibes or not. And so trying to ship the wines are incredible. They're fruit and dessert wines. So we have Maharishi Peach, Abbey Road Apple. They're only 8%. And if you're in Texas or Louisiana, you can buy them no problem. But we're trying to redo our distribution at the moment, simply because, and your friend Patrick will know about all of this, simply
Yeah.
because of state shipping rules and winery rules and so on and so forth. But mrsmccartneyswines.com is still there, so people can go check it out and join the mailing list, and we'll bust out an email when
We're
we're
optimistic. Yeah.
ready to rock again.
Yeah.
But they
Yes.
make great cocktail mixes. So we have their, or with afternoon tea. So they're like a sherry or a port. We have blackberry, blueberry, peach, apple, and what am I forget? Strawberry fields,
Strawberry.
of
Yeah.
course.
Strawberry fields. Yeah.
A little drop in a prosecco, or in place of Aperol or Campari or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So of course our viewers and our listeners are going to ask, what's next? And especially Dr. Angie McCartney. I want to be sure we get that in there. That what is next for you? It seems your energy is endless. Both of you have ideas that never stop, which I love and can certainly relate to.
Yeah.
And Ruth, I'm so fascinated by both of you that you see something and okay, what can I do with that? And so I'll just go to the library and get the 12 books that they have, and I will create this. And oh, by the way, .com. So I'll just buy everybody's names and then I'll go knock on their doors. So what's next? Do you know what's next?
No, I don't actually. I'm trying to find a way for people to encourage people to be kind to each other, to listen to each other, to listen to the other side, even if you think it's rubbish. Just listen,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, well, for Ange on the book side, she's, again, I was saying, she's writing, researching, and interviewing people. Of course, every week on Facebook Live on Dr. Angie McCartney's page, and then later on YouTube. We have T-Flix Tuesdays. It's like Netflix, but it's T-Flix. We have some fascinating guests, a lot of Beatle authors. We like to promote their books and keep that sort of family of, old hippies alive around the world.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with not just existing clients, but helping young restaurateurs and young chefs really get the recognition they deserve for all the hard work they do in feeding us and making us happy.
of all the things that you have done, what do you want to be remembered for?
Being a mother
Oh,
to this lovely
Oh,
girl of mine.
no.
Oh, I'm going all soppy now. I'm going to start sniffing and crying. Yeah.
I honestly don't know. Just if there's a headstone anywhere, she was kind. I just try to be kind to people. When I go to the supermarket, if I see somebody who is not particularly prepossessing, but they've made an effort, I'll say, "Wow, that is a great color on you," or "Oh, look at your nails, aren't you gorgeous?" Or just compliment somebody who looks like they need it. I do it every single day. It makes me feel great.
because you never know what's going on in their life.
No,
No,
absolutely.
You never know.
that's right.
Angie, I've heard you say, or I've read that any day above ground is a bonus.
That's right. It is.
And so you've been a great mother. Obviously, you've allowed Ruth and welcomed the opportunity for her to become all the things that she is. Um, you, I'm sure there were times when you sheltered her in her young life, as well as allowed her to be in the middle of all this excitement.
Yeah.
Oh, there were also times when I was in my Russian pop star phase, touring across Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, Armenia, Siberia, and whatever, that she came in the helicopter with me and drank vodka for breakfast. So hasn't
Yes,
always been cotton wool.
No, and by the way, I saw the video there's a 6-minute video about you on YouTube that I saw that incorporated some of that, which was pretty amazing. So everyone should go watch that as well.
That was a fun phase, being a pop star in a country where you can come out of Russia and go home and nobody recognizes you and you don't get bothered at the supermarket. But, 1,000 miles away, you get off the plane in Moscow and you're mobbed. It was like living for two different people. It was bizarre. It was great.
The first time we landed in Moscow and saw all these camera crews at the airport, Ruth thought, I wonder if Michael Jackson's on this plane.
Yeah, I was looking around the arrivals hall for Madonna.
But they've been running her one and only video on all 9 time zones.
Yeah.
Before we got there. And
amazing
all it said was McCartney is coming.
Yeah, McCartney.
So they thought it was the other one.
The billboards they put up, McCartney's coming to Moscow. They didn't tell them it was this one.
This one.
It was Ruth and Angie.
Oops.
Well, they should have. They should have.
Oh,
They
thank
should
you.
have. They should have. And Ruth, I've heard you say that you should never be afraid to, number one, pivot, which certainly the two of you have done multiple times. You should never be afraid to reach for the stars, which you also have done multiple times.
Yeah.
And number 3, never be afraid to get anybody in the world on the phone. Is that still the Pope?
It could be the Pope. It could be, yeah. I used to take challenges. It's not so easy nowadays with cell phones, but if you've got something you really want to say to somebody in a position of power, I mean, what I mean, the metaphor of never be afraid to get anybody in the world on the phone is never be afraid to speak truth to power. If it's something you're passionate about, find a way to get your message to the game changers.
Great message. Great message. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been a delight, an honor, a pleasure.
Likewise.
More an honor.
Oh, we've loved it.
Oh, you're amazing and inspiring and energetic and all of those things, all the things that we all would love to take away from this. And
you're not so bad yourself.
Yeah.
Take your spirit. Yeah. Thank you for being our guest today on SoCal with Val. We do have another radio show that's Always Ageless with Valerie V, which airs on the same station. And we hope that you'll be a guest on that show as well. Oh. Thank you very much. And God bless you both.
Thanks,
and wishing you much health. And I'm in line for your next books.
Okay.
And for some corporate tea as well.
Excellent. Okay. Jolly good. Well, hey, hashtag girl power.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Val. God bless.